People are strange.
Strange.
Fucking strange.
Is that strange?
That is strange.
Strange.
That is strange.
Wow, that is strange. This is strange.
Ryan Gable, welcome back to the show.
Howdy, Greg. Thank you for having me back on the show. It's been about a couple months.
It has been
5,
a couple
6 months.
Yes, it's been a while. So yeah, a lot has happened. A lot of strange things have happened since we last spoke.
Every week, every month, every year.
Yeah, it's nonstop, man. So yeah, one of the biggest things that just happened was the Super Bowl. So I really wanted to get you on to get your 2 cents on this because I really like the way that you approach the symbolism in the Super Bowl, you know, like as a lot of people jump to like, this is satanic. This is, this is all evil. This is the devil reincarnate. And you know what I mean? And so, but I know that there's a lot more to it. It's a lot more nuanced than that. And you pretty much dive deep into that stuff. So I'd love to have you on just to chat about it.
Well, I'm glad that you asked me to come on. I've had a lot of people ask me this year, more than any other year, which is, I don't think I have all the answers. I don't think I have the truth, but I try to approach it from a different point of view. I don't think it's just entertainment. And I also don't think it's, as you alluded to, a satanic, Illuminati, reptilian confirmed ritual. I don't even know what those words mean.
I get you.
But as I always tell people, you know, it's an event where I think this year 114 million people tuned in. That's more than last year by about 1.5 million. And then that's more than the year before. It made it the third most watched Super Bowl ever.
Wow.
The stream that I had on, Greg, they had video feeds from Germany. I think there was Brazil and maybe even Australia. I know Germany for sure, where they were having watch parties for like a bunch of Chiefs fans in Brazil, Eagles fans in Germany.
Isn't that bizarre? It's becoming like a worldwide sport now, you know?
It's very bizarre, and specific teams. I wouldn't imagine that there'd be that many Philadelphia Eagles fans in Berlin.
Yeah. I can't even imagine what the UK Raiders fans look like. Ugh, get out of here!
Right. So the point is, that's a lot of people, and all over the world, and even the people that don't watch it. You know, a lot of people that listen to it on the radio. I had at least 3 people that messaged me who told me they're not going to watch it, but that means they're still thinking about it. They know that it's on. They're making an effort to not watch it. So, I mean, you factor all that in, Greg, and you're looking at, I don't know, just a random number, probably at least 150 million people or more are tuning in some capacity.
Yeah.
And I've said that a lot of people watch the game. A lot of people watch just the commercials. They're not really as good, in my opinion, as they used to be. But when you have let's say you have a break in the game and you go in the kitchen to get a snack, right? Or you're talking to your friends at the party. Subconsciously, you're hearing what's in the commercials. Mm-hmm. Maybe you don't like the halftime show, so subconsciously you're hearing that while you're hanging out with your friends or family or whatever. Or maybe, you don't really like watching the game. You just watch it for those reasons. So you go in the other room when the game's on, kind of like I do, and you're still picking that up subconsciously, whatever they're talking about. So it's a platform, it's a base, it's a foundation to sell everything from products. Like Pepsi used to sponsor the halftime show. They didn't throw tens of millions of dollars at that just to do it. It made them a lot of money. And Apple sponsored the halftime show this year, as you know. Mm-hmm. So Apple's not throwing money there just to throw money there. They're getting something out of it. And same thing with political ideologies. Those are sold to us as well. The first all-female flyover of the Super Bowl. First dark-skinned Philadelphia Eagles coach in the Super Bowl,
the Black National Anthem.
That's right. I forgot about that. The Black National Anthem. That's a good point. And then, of course, the 2 quarterbacks, the first time 2 darker skinned. Well, one of them kind of has dark skin. Mahomes does. He's like kind of almost has like a Sicilian look to him, I think.
I get you.
So they make it about that. So it's like a social justice thing. It's a political thing. It's selling products. It's big corporations, big government, big sporting league, et cetera. And I kind of think of, the owners of these NFL teams, the commissioner of the NFL, all the billions that go into that, all the billions that are made, the $1 billion corporations like Apple that sponsor it, the millions that are spent on commercials by small and large companies alike. I kind of see it as a kind of a form of priestly class that takes an opportunity to perform this ritual. I mean, you could see it certainly as the bread and circuses of Rome. You could see it as a gladiator sport. It's a metaphor for warfare for sure, right?
Yeah.
It also reminds me of kind of like Aztec or I I don't want to say Mayan in the sense that Mayan rituals are the same as the Aztecs. The Aztecs did a lot of really terrible stuff. The Mayans not so much, but the priests basically ruled those civilizations. Like the priests controlled the pharaohs in Egypt, the priests controlled the emperors in China, etc. So the priests made a lot of the decisions, and they did that because they had a knowledge of the stars. They knew when certain planets would be visible in the sky. They knew when there might be maybe even a meteor passing by, a comet, when the sun might be blacked out with an eclipse. And having that knowledge, when the average person, even up until the 1950s, the average person around the world was illiterate. A lot of people don't realize that. About half the world is literate in the 1950s. It's a lot more today. But we're talking hundreds, thousands of years ago. So the priestly classes, Greg, really could get a stranglehold on the population by understanding certain natural things, the cycles of nature.
Well, yeah, just imagine turning on the Weather Channel and you look at the weatherman as an oracle. You know what I mean? You're like, oh, he's a prophet. Right. He's telling me what's going to happen. That's right. And that actually kind of feeds into the whole thing of just in general about media, mainstream, social media, any media. Someone's there. I mean, hey, look, we're on video, so we're authorities, right? Oh, yeah. Programming. Right. That's right. It's programming. In fact, I was talking to Chris from Forbidden Knowledge News the other day. We did a show and we were talking about how Hollywood is the wood of the magician, the wood of the Druidic magicians they used to make their wands. And they would use that to conjure up storms, gray clouds. And we still call the movie screen the silver screen. And then we broadcast a casting of an idea, a video, et cetera. We broadcast. It's a big, broad net we cast out to distribute that content, that entertainment. And then, of course, I just read a review of a movie the other day. I'm a big movie guy, and they were describing this movie as spellbinding. So it's Hollywood, it's the silver screen, it's broadcasting, it's spellbinding. And that's really what any event is. That's what a movie is. That's what especially the Grammys or the Super Bowl are. It's a lot of money, a lot of energy. Money is currency. Energy is attention, consciousness that goes into that. It charges those symbols, those ideas. And that is what I use every year, Greg, as kind of an oracle to see what the rest of the year might look like. What is going to be the trends in popular culture from the big corporations. And of course, from the big sporting leagues like the NFL, what direction are they going to head in? Yeah. It's kind of an oracle in that way. Yeah, and it really kind of, I watch the commercials to see what kind of trend that they're trying to set. You know what I mean? Like what kind of trend do they want the culture to go down? Like electric vehicles, electric everything, renewing all this renewable energy and all this stuff. But there were some strange commercials. You know what I mean? I did want to get your thoughts on a couple of them. One was, I'm going to share my screen here. One was this Tubi commercial about this rabbit going down the rabbit hole or throwing people down the rabbit hole, supposedly. Right? Yeah, during the year of the rabbit. Yes, during the year of the rabbit, grabbing all these people, throwing them down these holes. You know what I mean? Like, get down there. Forcing them almost. Pushing people into the abyss, into the rabbit holes, Alice in Wonderland kind of stuff. Yeah. Yeah, so it's like, what was your takeaway with that symbology? Well, I wrote down a few commercials, and I have my kind of infamous Super Bowl notes I write on this yellow paper every year. Heck yeah. I wrote down 3 commercials really stood out to me. That was definitely one of them, Greg, was the Tubi commercial with the rabbits. The other one was the Squarespace commercial with Adam Driver, because he's talking about the singularity. He's talking about how the website can create its own website. It can create itself. And he starts to multiply. It kind of reminded me of Agents in the Matrix. They just sort of multiply and come out of nowhere. And then he also gets sucked into a portal or kind of like a gateway, which that was the first one I saw. Then the Tubi commercial. So I saw portals, gateways, abyss was present in more than one commercial. Go ahead. You know what's strange about Adam Driver is he came up a lot this morning when we did our morning show, Pardon My American, and he was in the movie White Noise. Yes. Which just happened to be about this Ohio train derailment that just happened in Ohio. There's this humongous toxic spill of vinyl chloride. They were burning that off. Did you hear anything about this? I did. In fact, my show for the 14th tonight is actually on that. Partly. I mean, in fact, really quick, Greg, that's a great thing to bring up because you're right. Adam Driver was in that movie White Noise. It came out last August 31st.
And then just a few months later, where they shot the train derailment in the movie, East Palestine, Ohio, is where this train derailed on the 4th of February. And it wasn't just a train derailment. In the movie and in real life, it was toxic chemicals that were spilt, fires. They were worried about explosions, so they evacuated the residents.
Mm-hmm.
And that's weird. But then also you get other similar parallels that have tied together real life events with movies. And this can take us back to the Super Bowl eventually. Like, for example, Donnie Darko came out in 2001. And Donnie Darko, famously, this plane engine falls off the plane. It hits the bedroom, right? And then we got the rabbits in that as well. But in real life, almost 20 years to the day of that movie being released, January 19th, 2001, a United Airlines plane lost its engine over Colorado, and it landed on a neighborhood. Very much like art and life mimicking each other.
Yeah.
And I'll give you two more quick examples, really quick examples. There is the movie Independence Day, came out in 1996. Within a few months of that movie, which was the first big screen, big blockbuster movie with a UFO the size of a city, within a few months, from July to March of the next year, you had a case in Phoenix, the Phoenix Lights, with this big object over the city. And the same thing with this object shot down over Lake Huron just recently. They described it as an octagon, kind of black, but it had strings or something hanging off of it. I don't know about you, Greg, but that kind of reminds me of Jordan Peele's Nope. This UFO in Nope has that, in the promotional picture, has that string of like flags or banners hanging off of it.
Yeah.
It's almost like the movies or whatever movies, TV shows, events that happen in real life. Yes, they inspire movies, but then, movies inspire events inspire, it goes back and forth. Art mimics reality and so forth.
Yeah. Not just movies, but trailers for videos. I mean, U2, this Achtung Baby album that they're coming out with, they had the sphere, the Chinese spy balloon.
Yeah, and that came on. When did you see that? Was that at the end of the game for you? Did you watch the game live?
Yeah, this was right at the end of the game, but it was just very bizarre because you see this floating balloon above the city, and they actually, I think, go to a quick shot of the balloon there. Did you see that?
Yeah, it's like subliminal almost.
And then at the end, you get this creepy baby right here in the balloon.
The Achtung Baby.
Which means what? Danger baby or awareness or something baby?
Well, yeah. So that reminded me of two things. That reminded me of the movie Sphere. Have you ever seen that with Dustin Hoffman?
Great movie.
Yeah, that's not a bad movie. That's a pretty good movie. That's Michael Crichton, the guy that did Jurassic Park. So that is one thing that made me think of. The other thing was the Independence Day 2. For Independence Day 2, the sphere was like this collective consciousness of a civilization that was moving through space trying to escape the harvester aliens from the first movie.
Wow, I have not seen that.
Yeah, it's not a really good movie. I'm an Independence Day fan, but Independence Day 2 kind of sucked.
I get you.
But yeah, the sphere, if you just type in Independence Day 2 sphere, and you'll see that was the central idea in that movie as well, kind of like the alien that they were communicating with. But that happened. That commercial I noticed was at the end of the game, or toward the end, and I thought it was interesting because over the last was like Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, Super Bowl Sunday, you had in Alaska, Canada, over Montana. They didn't shoot anything down there, and then over the Great Lakes, they shot 3 unidentified objects down. They don't call them UAPs for some reason. They call them UFOs. They're not blaming them on Russia. They're saying that they don't know what they are, kind of alluding to the fact they might be alien. They say they haven't ruled that out. And it's weird because it's like our attention was taken from that to the Super Bowl, but then right at the end, there's a reminder that, oh yeah, by the way, there's UFOs flying around. We don't officially know what they are.
Don't forget about me, the flying balloon.
It's almost like it's kind of part of the ritual aspect of this. But if you want to go harder into the Super Bowl stuff, we can definitely do that for time's sake.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's do that. So the biggest thing was the halftime show with Rihanna, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what was your kind of takeaway with that? Because right off the bat, like there's numerology tied to this. So she had like a 13-minute set. She had to have it 13, was a big, like everybody's saying it's Illuminati 13. It happened on February 12th, which was the 43rd day of the year. Rihanna's 34. So there was a lot of mirrors in the halftime show. So 34 and 43 are mirrored one another. One big thing that I saw was 322 days remaining in the year after February 12th, and that
Skull and Bones
is the Skull and Bones insignia. A lot of things happen on February 12th. Tom Brady officially retired for good, and he's known as the GOAT. So there's a lot of GOAT symbology there. And it was reported, check this out, over in Turkey with that devastating earthquake.
Mm-hmm.
It was reported that the death toll climbed up to 33,000 people on February 12th. So people were thinking a lot of numerology, a lot of symbology with numbers here, but what's your take?
I didn't look too much into that. I've heard most of these things. I didn't hear about the earthquake numbers. I'll add one thing to that, though, and that is the 57 is 5, 7, 12. So you get 12 again with 57. For people that are interested in the numerological aspect of it, the game itself was technically, like if you're from Glendale, you'd say, I'm not from Phoenix, I'm from Glendale, Arizona. I'm just south of Glendale myself here in Arizona. So it was technically in Glendale, but, you know, for most people, they think just Phoenix because it's the greater Phoenix area.
Gotcha.
So technically it's Glendale, but the point is, since it's kind of in Phoenix, it's the greater Phoenix area, you get the idea of the Phoenix bird rising from the ashes.
Yep.
And of course, you look at the Philadelphia Eagles, the eagle, a lot of people think is the symbol of the United States. I'd call them crazy people on the progressive left, call it a Nazi symbol, which is ridiculous. But,
oh, yeah.
But the eagle is not necessarily the symbol of the United States. If you go back to the founding days of this country, and Manly Palmer Hall, one of my favorite authors, talks about this a lot in his books, The Secret Destiny of America, The Secret Teachings of All Ages. The original bird was first offered up by Benjamin Franklin, who said turkey, but the eagle idea came about from the phoenix. The eagle is actually the phoenix rising forth from the ashes, a new empire, a new country coming forth out of the ashes of the old world, which is what the U.S., the United States of America, really is.
Yeah, absolutely.
So our eagle is basically a phoenix. So you have that. I didn't talk too much about the Chiefs, but my friend Clyde Lewis on Ground Zero, we did our annual show together last night, and he talked about the secret Chiefs doing war with the Eagles, or with America. But the secret Chiefs are basically what Madame Blavatsky talked about, being the masters, the great brotherhood, the sages, the rishis, etc. And she and a lot of other occult authors, Greg, do talk about, this is fascinating, they do talk about how these gods or these demigods that pass knowledge on, like Viracocha or Quetzalcoatl or Osiris, etc., you name it, they fly around in little tiny flying machines. So you get the secret chiefs, you get the flying machines with the U2 commercial, and before the game and after, and then you get the eagle. So you have that element of it. But I focus more so on I think what was really missed at the halftime show. If you want me to go into that, I'll try to break that down as best as I can.
Yeah, absolutely. But just before you do, as far as like this theme of the resurrection, like the Phoenix that you mentioned, right?
Yes.
Just real quick, Damar Hamlin wearing the mocking Jesus. Everybody says that it's mocking Jesus jacket.
Glad you brought that up. Yes.
It says eternal on the back. And then did you read what it says here on the front?
No, you know what? I've not seen the front. So what does that say?
It says, without end or beginning, there is no day and there is no night.
Wow, I'm going to have to do another show where I talk about that, because that sounds, Greg, that sounds really, really familiar. I'm pretty sure I read something to that effect on the statue of the static Isis, which is present at the halftime show with Rihanna. She actually has an giant Isis tattooed on her chest under her breasts.
Yes, she does, right there.
Yep. And so the static Isis, if you were to type in static Isis and look it up, the statue of Isis will say something to the effect, this is off the top of my head, but I am all that has been, all that is, and all that ever will be. No mortal man hath ever unveiled me or hath me unveiled. It's kind of the idea of that you cannot look into the eyes of God. Only the resurrected, only the initiates who have gone through the process of living resurrection in the mystery schools of ancient Greece, ancient Egypt, ancient South and Central America, initiates who are reborn out of the temple, out of the womb, in a process of living resurrection, become sons or daughters of God instead of sons or daughters of man. And therefore they become eternal realizing their place in the universe. And as that happens, then only the immortals can unveil Isis and know the secrets of nature and the secrets and the mysteries of the universe.
So it fits right into his
That's
jacket.
what I'm getting. Yes.
Eternal on the back. He got the Isis scripture on the front. I mean, you had Rihanna have the Isis figurine or the statue underneath her breast, as you mentioned.
Yeah, can you send me that? Because I actually don't have that. I don't have a copy of that.
Yeah, it's actually
Please.
on our Instagram, Pardon My American Podcast, and I will send you the link right after this.
Okay, great.
And then
I'm so glad you brought that up. That's fascinating.
No problem. And then there's one last thing is the Queen Elizabeth. So she died on the opening day of the NFL season, right? September.
I don't know. Was it the opening day?
Yeah, it was the opening
day.
Yep, because I remember, because I'm a football guy. I watch football, and
I'm not, so fill me in.
So it was a Thursday night game with the Bengals, or no, the Bills and the Rams. And she died, and I was wondering if they were going to mention it, cancel the games, or do something like that, but they gave her honorable mention. But this week, so on February 6th was the 71st year anniversary. I mean, back here in 1952, she was immediately acceded to the throne. So like her ascension to the throne was on February 6th. So you kind of have this anniversary of her ascension to throne at the beginning of the week. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and she ruled. I mean, there was a lot of sevens. She went on a 7-month coronation tour. She ruled for 70 years or something?
Yep, 7 decades.
Yeah. And Charles is supposed to hold power for 7 years before he turns that power over to William. That's what's been speculated, which is what it makes me and a few other people I know think that William might be the archetype of the Antichrist, because he was injured when he was younger, just like the beast was. The red dragon, which is the coat of arms for King Charles. That red dragon, his coat of arms actually says he gives the lead, which is what Revelation says. Revelation says the red dragon gives the beast his power. And Prince William, if he is, I don't think he's the Antichrist. I'm saying that they're using these archetypes to fulfill a self-fulfilling, self-established prophecy. Yep. I think to really force people to give up hope in anything spiritual or anything divine. So that 7-year time frame, 2023 to 2030, which is a really important date for let's call them technocrats, the singularity, merging man and machine, cutting carbon emissions, etc. It's a really significant period of time, maybe the 7 years of tribulation. And when, the Antichrist doesn't get defeated by Jesus, people lose faith. I think it's all happening subconsciously up in the mind somewhere. It's not.
It's
physical,
interesting. Is I've heard that the tribulation would actually be cut in half. So it's supposed to be 7 years, right? The tribulation is a 7-year period, but
right.
A lot of people say that it's 3.5 years.
Yes, it's cut in half. That's right.
And exactly 3.5 years from Joe Biden's inauguration date. Do you know when that lands?
From when he was inaugurated, I don't know the exact date. What would it be? 2024?
July 4th, Independence Day.
Oh, man. You're finding some really good stuff.
I'm just saying, man. I don't know.
Some good stuff.
So yeah, I don't know. We'll find out. But
he's okay. So we can transition this into the halftime show. So you have the Queen died, you have a Pope that died, and you have a president who's basically dead. I mean, I don't know if he's even really completely alive.
Yeah, he's.
I see that as having, and I'm not a Christian for the record. I've studied the Bible like a lot of religious texts, and I think that they are following very powerful people. Let's call them the priestly class again. They are following Scripture because a lot of people follow Scripture, and they're trying to use it to create this idea of the end times, of the eschaton, of apocalypse, etc., which is going to become evident with the stuff we're going to talk about with the halftime show in a moment. So you got the Queen, you got a Pope, and you got a president, and those really are the three major pillars of power. You got Washington, D.C., the military, right? You got London, the financial, and you got the Vatican, which is the spiritual.
Yeah.
Now they've merged all these religions together. The One World Religious Center, if you've not seen that yet, right? And I think that's in Abu Dhabi.
Oh boy, no, I haven't seen it yet.
Type in One World Religious Center, Abrahamic or Hebraic or something like that, and you'll pull it up. And I think that either opens this year or it opened at the end of last year, but it merges Muslims, Christians, and Jews together into this one religion, basically.
So here's what I'm finding is Abrahamic house or family house in Abu Dhabi to open in 2022.
Yeah.
So this thing's already open then?
Yeah. So I guess I thought it was either late 2022 or early 2023.
Look at that.
But yes. So if you type in, for example, if you were to look up the book of Daniel, this is why I prefaced with I'm not a Christian, but I want to reference the Bible. The book of Daniel says that when this little horn, the Antichrist, comes to power, there will be 3 horns that are plucked from the earth before he can take power. I interpret that as being, well, Washington, London, and the Vatican, a queen, a pope, and a president, and basically undermining the foundation of spirituality, of the economy of the world, building back better, the Great Reset, and undermining the superpower of the world, the United States, which has, from its very beginning, there have been terrible people and good people. And we've created something in America that has never been seen before in history, a place of opportunity for everybody, where we've become some of the most wealthiest and successful people in the history of the world, relatively speaking. There's a lot more to that. But the idea here is plucking those 3 horns and replacing them with this tiny horn. That takes you to Revelation, the beast given his power by the dragon. And this actually takes us to the halftime show, believe it or not. So we could start just simply with how most people see the performance of Rihanna, and they see she's in red. So it must be satanic or demonic.
Mm-hmm. Not only that, but she's doing the whole Illuminati thing here. I have it on camera. We got this. Oops. I'll just mute that. But as you can see, she's doing the whatever Illuminati hand signal. You know what I mean? The diamond in the sky.
Yeah, they call it a diamond. If you look that up, DeMar Hamlin did the same thing when he came back for the playoff game the Bills had.
Yep.
I don't put too much emphasis on that. I think that's more of a sign that they're in the entertainment cult, I call it.
Yeah.
I don't call it the Illuminati per se, but that whole idea, that hand sign, whether it's a triangle, whether it's a now people are going to say I'm doing it. Triangle, a diamond, whatever it is.
Diamond Dallas Page did it back in the WWE,
People have been doing this for years.
Yeah.
I mean, the thing about that makes no sense is that when DeMar Hamlin did it at the playoff game, they said, "Oh, that's a heart."
Yeah.
I thought no, this is a heart.
Exactly. You put the pinkies together, and you got to curl it.
Yeah. So, okay, so let's look at it this way. I'm going to try to break this down as quickly as possible. I'm going to try not to speak fast. There's a lot to break down here. This is my analysis that I did on the Secret Teachings. Back in late January, just a couple weeks ago, 2 weeks ago, there was a statue of Ruth Bader Ginsburg unveiled in New York, the Supreme Court building. It's placed next to Moses and Zoroaster and some other lawgivers. They tried to associate her with lawgivers, even though she's a law interpreter. Now, the statue, she doesn't actually have arms. She has these Lovecraftian tentacles that come out, if you want to look that up.
Yes.
And she has these almost like ram's horns on her head. Now, the same statue is actually across the street. The same artist did a similar statue for Ruth Bader Ginsburg. They basically just copied this other statue they had put up across the street in a park, which had to do with women's rights and the Me Too movement and all that. And that statue actually has a word written on it that means Eve. So they're calling on it, would seem, here's the universal mother, the goddess, feminine energy and the feminine essence, etc. But what's disturbing about it is they deform the female, as you can see in that picture there that Greg has up.
Mm-hmm.
They give her these tentacle arms. They distort her head, so she's kind of like a horned god or horned goddess, which is always a symbol of sexuality and fertility and ecstasy, like the goddess Katesh. And she's standing on a lotus flower. Now, that lotus flower is a symbol of the spirit conquering matter. But the statue officially, this is not my opinion, I'm a circumstantialist when it comes to abortion for the most part, that statue literally represents abortion, which is the conquering of spirit by matter. So they're pulling and calling and drawing on the energy of the feminine, and that other statue has Eve written on it, on the energy of Eve, the universal mother, universal goddess, whatever you want to call her, the universal feminine, but then they're inverting it. And they're using sex and sexuality as a sacrament almost, and suggesting that abortion is almost like a sacrifice, part of the sacrament to the opposite of the divine mother or the universal mother, the goddess. And that universal goddess or universal mother inverted, the Jews have a story for her. They call her Lilith or Lameshta. She's known as the mother of beasts, the mother of abortion, the mother of wet dreams, let's call it. She hunts down and tortures men. She's a succubus, and she literally consumes babies or mutilates them and kills them.
Well, you know what's weird is Madonna's hair kind of resembled this statue at the Grammys too, right?
You're right, Greg, and that's where I'm going next. So that's the next week after the statue in New York. Madonna at the Grammys. You got this cartoonish performance of Sam Smith and Kim Petras. You know, it's red and devil horns. It's cartoonish for two reasons. One, it's laughable, but two, Sam Smith and Kim Petras are like non-binary and trans.
Yeah.
So it has this weird transvestite LGBTQ thing going on, and it's very cartoonish and devilish. And the reason I say it's there are two cartoonish elements to it is it's not just because it's kind of laughable, but because there's the Powerpuff Girls TV show in the 90s where they represented the devil as being a transvestite, and they called the devil him, his infernal majesty. If you type in him, Powerpuff Girls, the devil was depicted in the 90s, just one example of many, as being a transvestite, confused about his sex, and he hunted down, and he was one of the major villains of the Powerpuff Girls, these little young girls.
Oh boy! So this little creature?
Yep. So he's got this frilly kind of lacy, puffy stuff. He's got these like
a tutu
female
on,
women's boots on. Yeah, but he's got the goatee mustache kind of thing going on, or the goatee, not the mustache.
Lobster claws.
He's got lobster claws. So he's an abomination. He's a mixture of human and animal, male and female. He's androgynous. He's kind of confused about his sex. This is personally, this is scarier than Sam and Kim, in my opinion, because there's deeper meaning there. The Sam Kim thing is just like some social justice thing. To me, it has very little meaning or purpose. But the purpose that is there, I find, not in the cartoonish devil, it's in the magic circle. They actually put Sam Smith inside of a magic circle. So the circle is there. It protects the conjurer or the invocator from what's on the outside, or more often than not, you conjure the spirit inside of the circle so that it can't harm anything on the outside. So Sam Smith basically played a vessel for whatever it was that was being sang about and drawn onto or into that circle at the Grammys. And the song, and there's the circle, and they've used that at the Super Bowl over and over and over and over and over and over again. You can find Lady Gaga playing the piano in it, and a bunch of other performances. Same exact white circle, not even a different color. It's the same white circle.
Now, is that on purpose to mimic the salt, to draw the circle for witchcraft or something? Or
yeah, I mean, salt is usually used. You could technically use tape. You could draw it in the mind's eye. Salt is a common thing. You could just paint, depending on how versatile your space is. But that's what it represents. So from the horns and the Medusa Gorgon-like thing going on, the Lovecraft thing going on with the Ginsburg statue, calling on this inverted feminine energy, if you will, all the way to the Grammys, which seem unrelated, where you've got Madonna, as you pointed out, with the same hairdo, with this plastic-looking face. Mm-hmm. And I couldn't help but think this plastic, shiny face is kind of like the Bedlam, which is the other mother, the inverted mother from that movie Coraline.
Ooh, yeah.
And it's almost like very Slender Man-ish or very rakish. It's just very unnatural, very unnatural, which is what they were singing about at the performance. She introduced the Sam Smith performance. It was something unholy at the body shop. And I can't help but think, Greg, that the body shop is where you go to get your transitional surgery and drugs.
I never thought about that. That's awesome.
Yeah, it's terrifying, but yeah, awesome to realize.
Not like woohoo, but that's awesome connection. I've never thought about that.
It's not just the LGBTQ thing either, because if the American Academy of Pediatrics recently came out and said if your child is fat, you should get them drugs and surgery by the time they're 12 and 13. Jeez. So they want to drug and chop kids up for being fat, for being confused, or not having a good home life. And I mean, that's what, whether you agree with abortion or not, that's what most abortions are. It's a baby that they cut the limbs off of and then they suck it out. And, the body shop is where you put lobster claws on this red devil character. It's an abomination of nature. So
it's the Baphomet, isn't it not?
Yeah, but I don't necessarily see Baphomet as a negative or evil deity, but in essence, yes, it is that. It's androgynous and it confuses people because it's not natural. You don't normally see animals and humans merge together. You don't see, human sexes merge together. We all have a little femininity or a little masculinity, but that's the objective balance in nature. If you go the opposite of what you actually are, it's not feminine or masculine. It's a distortion of reality. It's for all intents and purposes, it's an abomination of nature. But I don't say that from a Christian perspective.
Gotcha.
So Greg, with all that, taking all that into consideration, I called Madonna because she's trying to stay relevant and trying to maintain this young age. I mean, she's really guilty of ageism, more so than what she accused the critics of. And I called her the Black Madonna because Ma is the mother principle, like Lady Gaga says, Ra Ma Ga Ga Ga, Ra Ma Ga Ga Ga, fire, water, child, Trinity. And then Donna is just another name for Diana. So it's literally Ma Diana, Ma Donna. It's mother goddess.
So now what is the Black Madonna?
People say Black Madonna refers to, the African origins of humankind, which is more of a politically correct way to look at it. I see the Black Madonna more from the historical mythological perspective, and that is you can type in Isis and Horus, and you can see a Black Madonna of Isis and Horus, or you can see, Jesus and his earthly mom. It's the, Mary, Madonna. It's basically there are two sides to everything, dark and light. And that Black Madonna represents, think about it like the black veil of Isis. Isis goes and searches for her husband Osiris when he is kidnapped and chopped into pieces, actually, like the Body Shop, by his brother Seth, sometimes associated with Typhon, who's kind of like a Titan. And then that's actually, they symbolize that today with obelisks, which you can find in Washington, at the Vatican, and in London, the Osiris phallus. So that is the Black Madonna. It's basically the alter ego or the alternate personality of the goddess. You need both to have balance and a coherent idea present in the goddess image. But if you just go one side or the other, then you get imbalance and you get chaos.
Is it supposed to be blasphemous to Christianity because it is taking away something about Mother Mary, or is it trying to mimic Mother Mary or something in some way?
No, not necessarily. I mean, some Christians might see it that way, but for Christians that have more of an open mind, I would say it's the opposite of that. It's showing that we all have a dark side and a light side. It doesn't mean that we're evil and good necessarily, but we all have times of being down, times of being up. We're sad, like Isis when she wears the black veil. Sometimes we're happy, like Isis when she wears the white veil, which also feeds into marriage and why you wear the white veil and all that kind of stuff.
Okay.
So all of that, I mean, I think all of that's necessary in the lead up to the Super Bowl to understand what the halftime show really was. Rihanna is, first of all, her name sounds like another name for Ishtar or Isis, Inanna. Inanna is a Sumerian goddess, a mother deity, if you will, a mother goddess. Rihanna, Inanna. Rihanna also sounds like Madonna as well, which in magic, if you use the same words that sound the same, spell differently, or they rhyme, there's a lot more power to them. So Rihanna is kind of like the Black Madonna, not because she has dark skin and not because she was revealing that she's pregnant literally during the performance, which would make her literally a black mother, a Black Madonna, but more so because of what she represented. And I don't think that she did it. I don't think that she designed the performance. I don't think that she organized the halftime show per se. I think she, like Sam Smith, is a vessel to draw down the essence or the energy of something. In witchcraft, and I mean in more pagan Wiccanism witchcraft, not the darker stuff, they have a ceremony called drawing down the moon. If you type that in, Greg, I don't know if you've never heard of that, you type that in, you should be able to find something pretty easily on it. Drawing down the moon is where the coven gets together and the woman that leads the coven with her male partner, because you have to have balance, they draw down the power of the moon or Luna, the goddess, into the woman who is running the coven. She embodies the goddess. And I think we've seen that with Lady Gaga at the Super Bowl, for example. You've seen that with Beyonce at the Super Bowl. A lot of women at the Super Bowl that embody that goddess archetype.
I'm not finding like real accurate pictures here. I'm finding a lot of cartoons and whatnot, but
there's a book written on it. I think it's just called Drawing Down the Moon or Drawing on the Moon.
Yeah, Mother Goddess, lend me down your light. Give me
Yes.
your power on this faithful night. Okay.
Yes. Yep, exactly. That's exactly it. So I think that's more so what we're dealing with. So I'm not accusing Rihanna of any of the following things I'm about to observe. I'm simply saying she's playing a part, she's a vessel, and so on and so forth. So really quickly, the symbol that I thought made the most sense, the thing that a lot of people missed, was when the shot opens up at the halftime show and you see the suspended platforms. There are 7. They don't show you that till another shot. At first, you see 5 platforms. You see a platform in the middle where Rihanna is, and then you see a platform on the left and right, a little bit lower, and then you see a platform underneath of that a little bit lower. That symbol
kind of looks like this a little bit.
Yes. Now, I wouldn't call it a pyramid. I would call it a ziggurat.
Okay.
But what you're looking at there, if you can transition, if you type in I Ching, I-C-H-I-N-G, I Ching, Gon or Gin, like G-O-N or G-E-N.
Okay.
You'll see that symbol is, in my opinion, what they were replicating at the halftime show, or perhaps one of the things, but to me, one of the most obvious things. You see that? It looks...
Yeah, I-C-H-I-N-G-G-O-N.
Yeah, or type in the 8 trigrams. Type in 8 trigrams, T-R-I-G-R-A-M-S, and you should see all of them.
Okay.
You put that on the screen, I'll point out which one it is.
All right, here we
So
go.
and while you're looking at this, the 8 trigrams are the 8 oracle symbols of the I Ching. They represent air, water, fire, earth, or breath, sea, thunder, and lightning, which is like fire, and then the earth is the mountain. So if you look there, it is the bottom left, thunder and spirit. So you see the platform at the top and then the 2 bars on the left and right. Now, if I had seen that and just started to read a little bit about what that symbol represents and didn't think, I didn't think I found anything interesting, I would just pass it up. But what I found in reading about that symbol, to me, was fascinating. This is going to tie the whole show together really quick. Those 8 trigrams that you showed, the different elements and then their associated characteristics, are called, and this is a name you can type in, Ba-Gu, B-A-G-U-A. It means 8 oracle symbols. Those 8 trigrams are used as oracles to decipher the present and the future. Some even say the past. And the word Gu, G-U-A, is this is not my opinion, this is from a symbol book. Gu is a dragon spirit that bestows powers, just like that red dragon giving the beast his powers in Revelation. So that particular symbol, the Gin or the Gon, with the 2 bars on each side underneath the main bar, back to that first shot from the halftime show, it represents 3 things. I'm going to read you this directly from a book on the I Ching. Letting go of the obsolete, an ability to disengage, and focusing or refocusing on new beginnings. Now, there's another symbol in the I Ching, hexagram 23. You should be able to find that a little easier.
Yes, I actually have that right here.
Okay, so it's basically the same symbol. It just has more lines, so it has more interpretation. But that symbol represents, and it's actually called, the cleansing or the purifying. They call it Bo. One of the I Ching books I have, for example, says this, and this is a direct quote from the book. I'm not making this up or leading you to think something. It says, this symbol, the hexagram 23, is a recapitulation, which is a reinstating, of hexagram 4 and the apocalypse. So it's a symbol of the apocalypse. Now, hexagram 4, as a little side note, is a hexagram. It's the 4th one. We're at 23. This is the 4th one. If you go back, hexagram 4 is called the child. Rihanna's pregnant with child. It's called the revelation, and it's called the veil, like the veil of Isis, the black veil, the white veil, the revelation, the beast, the dragon, and then the child. The child would perhaps be the Antichrist. So you have the Gin or the Gon, and then you have hexagram 23, hexagram number 4. You're getting the child, you're getting revelation, you're getting the veil, and you're getting the cleansing, the purifying, something that's being restarted, which brings us back again to the phoenix.
Yeah.
And of course, the phoenix is resurrecting out of the ashes. So I have a few more things, but if you want to comment on that, I'd love to hear what your interpretation is.
Yeah, no, it's just the whole thing about being born, the rebirth, the birthing in general. I mean, being pregnant, it's so much, you're bringing the abstract into reality at that point. And the thing that I found very, very insane with this, not insane in a bad way, but just the connection was insane, was I listened to your show last night with Clyde Lewis, and you did mention this I Ching, or is it I Ching 23?
I Ching, yeah, we call it I Ching 23, but I think they technically call it hexagram 23 of the I Ching.
Gotcha. I found this kind of interpretation of the actual symbol, and It says splitting apart, and reality appears to be a hall of mirrors, and the halftime was just filled with mirrors, right?
That's right.
It is a time of illusion, disintegration, distrust, and deception. When you find yourself trapped in a hall of mirrors, it becomes necessary to retrace your steps. The platforms formed into a shape of stairways, so steps in the stairway.
Stairway to heaven, stairway to hell.
And then a period of revival that follows the period of disintegration as surely as dawn follows the night. Now, that just reminded me of Lamar Hamlin's jacket. The dawn and the night, and there is no night without the day. You know what I mean?
And that brings us back to the Black Isis or the Black Madonna. And I actually have what you just read there kind of written down here on my notes. You're exactly right. It's the splitting apart, the hall of mirrors. And since we're talking about the dark side of the goddess here, where it's really weird, I just opened up, I have an encyclopedia of witchcraft, and I just opened it up, and I was looking for Black Madonna, just looking for a reference point. And I know a lot about Kali, the Hindu goddess, but I did not know that her symbol, I just learned this weekend, her symbol, the black goddess of chaos, she's not totally a goddess of chaos, but the black goddess of chaos is the symbol of a mirror. And as you pointed out, yes, the mirrors are legion. They are the platforms, and there are 7 of them. And those mirrors do something else. They also reflect back what is above. So what is above is being reflected down to earth. That's being reflected back. If we're reflecting back the grace from the divine, or the dew that the alchemists collect from heaven that forms overnight on the ground, if we reject that, we're rejecting divinity. So it's almost like a rejection of divinity. It is putting Rihanna, the Black Madonna, at the top of that ziggurat on the stairway to heaven. Then they invert it, so she is at the bottom of that ziggurat.
Yep.
And in both cases, you have the upward ziggurat, which is phallic or fire. You have the inverted, which is the womb or water. When you combine them together, you get the seal of Solomon. You get a coming together of all of the elements. So in bringing together all of the elements and in wearing the ritualistic garb, it's not just the lady in red, the scarlet woman, which is, Lilith or Lameshta. She's pregnant, the Black Madonna. Isis is always seen as the apex of the pyramid, which is where they have Rihanna standing. You put all that together and you get this. This is really fascinating from Revelation. Revelation 17:4. The woman was dressed in purple and scarlet and was glittering with gold, precious stones, and pearls. She held a golden cup in her hand filled with abominable things and the filth of her adulteries. Now, I'm going to make this interpretation. And again, I'm not calling Rihanna these things, but it's what she embodies. She's a royal icon. Royalty is always symbolized by purple. She holds a golden cup of wealth and fame in her hands. She grabs her private areas on stage multiple times. I'm sure you noticed that.
Yep.
Okay. And her microphone is like decked out in kind of like diamonds, right? Or it's glittering like the little diamonds on her. She has some diamond pendants on her clothing. She actually sings that song about diamonds at the end, which is, the diamond again. And what she holds in her hand, I just came to this interpretation on my show last night. What she puts her hand several times on her butt or near her crotch. Now that would be, basically the womb area, right? The vaginal area, the womb area.
Well, so just to stop you real quick, that yes. You're not making stuff up, because I've seen articles that were making fun of her for doing that, like where she's like itching herself and then sniffing her hand.
Yes, this is the abomination and the abominable things that the Scarlet Woman is accused of in Revelation. This is what I think she embodies. And when she puts her hand down there and, yes, smelling it, I noticed that.
Yeah.
When she's doing those things, she has a child in her womb. She's really actually pregnant. So it kind of suggests that what she's holding in her hand, like Revelation says, she holds the golden cup, which is the womb, the sangreal, the holy blood, the place where new life comes into the world, the sacred feminine, but they're inverting all that. So the golden cup in her hand is filled with abominable things, Revelation says. It's the filth of her adulteries. So she has a child, perhaps a product of abomination. I'm not saying Rihanna is abominable or her child's the Antichrist, but it's what that image portrays as she dances around like the Scarlet Woman in Revelation as the prostitute of Babylon, the whore of Babylon, or Babylon the Great or the Scarlet Woman. That is what I think she embodies. And I think when you look at Revelation real close, they script this stuff to the T. It just, unless you read those verses, and sure, we could find a meaning and a definition for these things anywhere, but based on all the other stuff, that's why we go into Madonna and the Grammys and Ruth Bader Ginsburg statue. They're calling on the opposite of Eve and the Universal Mother. They're calling on the mother of beasts, Lamashtu. They're calling on the goddess Lilith, who targets men and children, and just like Medusa turns men to stone, targets men and children and kills them or sucks the life out of them. They're calling on things that are in balance. They're calling on the whore or the harlot, and they're inverting and I would say they are pillaging everything that is sacred and inverting things in more ways than one, to take the sacred, to take the divine, and in the name of femininity, in the name of the divine, sell you this stuff that I think Christians are right. It's abominable, and that's what it's supposed to represent. It's supposed to represent a disconnection and, like those mirrors, a rejection of God and divinity.
Yeah, and the apocalypse, right?
And the I Ching 23, hexagram 23, hexagram 4, and also the Gon. It's the child, the veil, the revelation, and the apocalypse. And that's literally what the I Ching book says, not me.
Well, and because that's the first thing that I took away, is that I noticed, okay, she's pregnant, she's dressed in red, and then all of the men or the dancers in white represent, I saw a sperm, you know what I mean? Like I saw semen, and they impregnate the women or the woman. People were saying that it represented some sort of pandemic response, but I didn't see that. It didn't fit with the whole, actual performance. But the whore of Babylon idea is very fascinating, because she is supposed to bring about the Antichrist, correct? The whore of Babylon. That's
correct. Yeah, I don't think her child's the Antichrist.
For
but,
sure.
It's
For
the
sure.
idea. It's
Yes.
the idea that's embodied there, yes.
Which
also, if I may real quick, if you read Revelation, it says in Revelation that this is what I interpreted the white dancers to be. The whore of Babylon leads men, like Lilith, the Scarlet Woman, leads men into temptation and into abomination and into fornication. So it's almost like these pure white spirits being led by the prostitute or the whore into fornication, scratch, scratch, sniff, sniff, the abomination that she represents in the whore of Babylon, leading the innocent to that fornication.
Gotcha. Yeah, that's a good point too. One thing that I was thinking about is Jack Parsons and L. Ron Hubbard. They were performing sex magic out in the desert, trying to bring about a moon child.
Oh, yes.
With the whore of Babylon. And, he thought that he found the whore of Babylon. I forget her name, but the redheaded woman, when he got back to his place, Jack Parsons. But they were trying to bring about a moon child, right?
Yes, that's right. The moon child, homunculus, etc.
Now, this this whole sphere and the baby in the sphere in the end, does that not look like a moon and a child inside of it?
You got it.
You know what I mean?
Attention, child. Attention. Pay attention to the child in the sphere. Octoon, baby.
So that was kind of the icing on the cake, where I was just like, what? And
because you brought up the Hall of Mirrors and you broke down the I Ching 23 there, that description of the hexagram 23 is kind of reminiscent of the Pepsi commercials, because you had Ben Stiller and Steve Martin, and I didn't pay too much close attention to those commercials. I kind of missed them, but they had said something like, as actors, Pepsi's good, but you don't know if it's actually good or if we're just acting. So you don't really know what's real. And that's kind of the idea of the Hall of Mirrors, of illusion. You don't know if political leaders are real people. If it's, there's a thing now that even CNN has been reporting on, that we don't know if any news report, video, anything is real. Everything's deep fake.
Yep.
Everything is a compilation of real faces that create these AI generated or AI controlled. I guess they're AI controlled images that look like real people. They create fake news broadcasts, etc. We don't know what's real. Politics, entertainment, we have no idea. And that also goes back to the Damar Hamlin thing. Did he die on the field? He's resurrected. Look at this coat he has on. It connects with the saying on the front, as you showed me there, to the Black Goddess, the Black Madonna, Isis. It's all coming from the same place. If this was just all over the place and just random stuff, I wouldn't be sitting here talking to you. But it's not. It's all following a very specific pathway. And when you're, as you clearly are, Greg, and I'm sure a lot of your listeners are, when you're aware of a little bit of this stuff, it just starts to flow out.
Mm-hmm.
You just have to have a little piece of it. And whether you know about the I Ching or whatever your area of specialty is, I could apply my level of knowledge on anything to that halftime show, and 99% of the time, none of it is relevant. But it's the first thing that just appears, and that intuition, and I go look it up, and that's the symbol I see. Then it starts to make a lot of sense when it connects with all these other things, like with the Black Madonna and the Grammys, et cetera. That's my take anyway.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Just a couple last things that I wanted to get your take on.
Yes.
So Rihanna sings the song Umbrella, right?
Yes.
The octagon-like shaped these things that with object that was shot down over Lake Huron was shaped like an octagon, they said.
Like an umbrella. Yes.
Right?
Isn't that weird?
And then this reminded me, so this little drawing over here for the I Ching 23.
Mm-hmm.
So the colors are all red, white, and black, just like the Rihanna Super Bowl dance, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, if Rihanna is the red on top of the volcano, is this some sort of sign that a volcano is about to erupt? Because we just had a massive earthquake over in Turkey, splitting the earth. You know what I mean? And now I heard one of the callers last night saying at the pinnacle of this moment in Umbrella, fireworks were erupting, right? When she was at the pinnacle of this pyramid. So she was the red on top of the mountain erupting.
Yeah, that's a good point. And it's also happening in a Super Bowl, which is I call it a super cauldron, which can be used to brew up all kinds of potions and lotions and magical formula. That's a good observation. I'm not in the business of making predictions, but
oh yeah, for sure.
Perhaps symbolically though, Greg. I mean, doesn't have to be an actual volcano. It could be the essence of a volcano, an eruption, something exploding, an emergence of something. Maybe more of those UFOs could symbolize. It could mean a lot of things. Or again, maybe people are right. Maybe it just has no meaning to it at all. But I find that hard to believe when companies otherwise spend tens of billions of dollars to cram their product or their ideology down your throat. The priestly class isn't going to waste an opportunity to show 200 million people with radio and everything else these kinds of images, because these are the people that have run the world. This is their language. They've run the world, kings, queens, emperors, you name it, for thousands of years. It's not much different today. These people just don't have as much power on the surface. So the events like this are opportunities to showcase that knowledge and that ritual. I call it the ritual or the ceremonial pageantry.
I get you. Okay. Yeah, that's fair. I mean, I'm not in the prediction game either. I just found that was very interesting. I mean,
it's very interesting. You're right.
What are the odds that the camera just pans away and shows explosions right as she's at the pinnacle of that pyramid here? One last thing that I got for you, Ryan. Did you see the Jack's New Angle Doritos commercial where everything was a triangle?
Yeah, the little tiny bell things, or what were they called?
Yeah, he's just obsessed with triangles because the Doritos in the shape of a triangle. So we just have triangles all over the place here. Everybody's playing triangles. We need more triangles, everybody. Come on, more triangles, more triangles. And then, what are your takes on the symbology here?
I think it's more of it's just back to the hand gesture. I think it's really just to get people's attention to, in that case, buy the product. I think it's kind of like almost like a shock value type thing. These companies, look at Taco Bell. They used like conspiracies at a Super Bowl a couple of years ago.
It's true.
And that was one of the big, the big commercials, because that's what a lot of people are into. So they know that by doing those things, by doing this, and we need more triangles, people are going to pay attention to that. And, if you want to go full scale conspiratorial, perhaps you have things like that to divert your attention away from more subtle things. It's almost as if it's like if you were, I don't know what would be a good example here, but it's like if you were looking at something on the computer that you're not supposed to be looking at, and you get caught in school, or your parents catch you.
Oh yeah.
And then the next time,
we've all been there. Come on, Ryan.
And the next time, you put your laptop down a little bit, and, you kind of keep it hidden. You go in the other room, bathroom, or whatever. It's almost like maybe that's what the halftime show is. If it is intended to be ritualistic, it used to be much more obvious, but so many people saw it and turned it into a joke and a mockery that the people that do it seriously, they don't like that. So they still do it. They just do it a lot more subtly. So unless you know the subtleties and you really are well versed on these things, or have access to a wealth of information, a library of books, etc., or know what to look for, you're going to think, oh, it's just red, just triangles, just the devil, whatever. And that can be a very classical form of misdirection.
Yeah, and that's what we all have to kind of be aware of right now, is there seems to be a lot of misinformation, misdirection going on.
Yes.
Well,
as always, but yeah.
Yes. This was awesome, Ryan. So thank you so much for coming back. I'm glad you had some time to carve out for me. And yeah, this is we'll have to do this again soon.
Yeah, I really appreciate that. You've got some really good points here that I didn't pick up. This is why I like talking to different people that have their head on straight, like you do.
Oh, right.
Not many people do, Greg. And having like the Damar Hamlin thing on the jacket, I didn't even think to look on the front of the jacket, and that could be a whole show in and of itself. So maybe you should come on the Secret Teachings, and we should talk about this soon.
Heck yeah, I would love it.
Yeah, sound good?
All right, man. Well, yeah, I will keep in touch, and I'll email you that right after the show. And until next time, everybody, thanks for watching. If you like this, leave a comment, and we'll talk to you soon. All right?
All right. Thanks, Greg. Bye-bye.
Bye.